Welcome to the Gray Area. It's your man Kevin Gray of 105.3 The Fan. You can catch me on the weekends on the Fan Jam from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. On Saturdays with my guy Will Chambers, and on Sundays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. with my partner Chris Arnold, the two-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold, that is. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the page. Really appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Been going through a little bit of a rebrand, as you can tell, and have done so rather quickly. So thank you to everyone who continues to support the channel and support all the social media platforms. Again, you can follow me on all social media at Kevin Gray Sports and catch me on the weekends on 105.3 The Fan. It's kind of a back to sports kind of week, right? We are so excited here in the DFW area to get sports back. I think everyone across the country is glad to get sports back with the return of Major League Baseball, the NBA, hopefully NFL training camps getting off the ground here soon, also in anticipation of what should be an exciting 2020 NFL season. So there's a lot of anticipation right now for everyone seeing live sports for the first time in over 3-4 months, major sports wise, because we've seen the UFC and soccer and other sports. But the main sports, the NHL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, the NFL, hopefully being able to have its season uninterrupted, if you will. It's an exciting time right now. And more so than anything, for me, this is a great time to be a Mavs fan. Yeah, a Mavs fan. As you know, the Dallas Mavericks are in Orlando for the restart of the NBA season in the NBA bubble. Shout out to the NBA. No positive COVID-19 tests recently, so they're doing their thing in the NBA bubble in Orlando on its campus on the Disney World Resort down there. And the Dallas Mavericks, look, 40-27 as they enter into the bubble. Their first game is going to be against the Houston Rockets on the 31st of July. And this is a team that has a real opportunity, one, to continue to grow and get better as a young basketball team, but two, maybe make some noise in the NBA playoffs and be a threat depending on who they see in the first round. So they have a golden opportunity at the beginning of this 8-game schedule, if you will, to make some hay in their particular division, the Southwest Division, but more so continue to build momentum toward the NBA playoffs as they get ready for their first playoff run. That is for Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. One person, though, who's been in the playoffs and has had some playoff experience is a guy who we're going to talk about a little bit today. That's Tim Hardaway Jr., THJ for the kids out there. Tim Hardaway Jr., of course, the son of killer crossover Tim Hardaway Sr. Tim Hardaway, a former Michigan man himself, has really played a huge factor this year to Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. Look, we know how good Kristaps Porzingis and Luka Doncic have been all season long. Luka Doncic is a MVP candidate this year. Kristaps Porzingis is coming along, has started to find his game, not just defensively as the rim protector and shot alterer and what he's been doing on the defensive end, but offensively as a stretch five, really finding his rhythm on the offensive end. And one person who's really come into his own this season has been Tim Hardaway Jr., a guy who's shooting a career high over 40% from the three-point line this year, has made 185 threes. That's good for 9th in the NBA. A guy who's top 20 in three-point shooting percentage this year. What Tim Hardaway has provided for this team, not just offensively, but more so on the defensive end, has been a breath of fresh air for Rick Carlisle and this Mavericks basketball team, and why the Tim Hardaway experience is going to be crucial for the Mavs as they get ready for these 8 games and going into this playoff run. Now, there are other guys, Maxi Kleber, Seth Curry, and others who have been major contributors to this basketball team. And while the talent and the stardom and the fanfare belongs with Kristaps Porzingis and Luka Doncic, to me, the heartbeat and soul of this basketball team is Tim Hardaway. Rick Carlisle's talked about it before. Before the season, he had a real conversation with Tim Hardaway. He went down to Miami where Tim Hardaway lives and trains and said, look, your role on this basketball team is going to be a little bit different. You're probably going to be coming off the bench coming into this season because as the Dallas Mavericks had signed Seth Curry, and Seth Curry was projected to be, a starting two guard alongside, Luka Doncic, whatever the case may be, the starting shooting guard. But Seth Curry had fell ill for a few games, and Tim Hardaway stepped in early on this season. And Hardaway really hasn't looked back. This is a guy who has put himself in position to be one of the best catch-and-shoot three-point guys in the NBA. And one of the major questions we had coming into the season for the Mavericks, besides Kristaps Porzingis and if he could find himself remaining healthy and being consistent enough to be the Robin to Luka Doncic's Batman, was who was going to be the third scorer for this team in the starting lineup. And when Seth Curry went down for a few games with illness and Tim Hardaway stepped in, Tim Hardaway said, look, I'm going to be the third guy on this basketball team. And not only am I going to be the third guy, I'm going to embrace a role that allows me to help on both ends of the floor. And he has done just that. And it's exciting to see Tim Hardaway not only continue to develop within his role, but understand what his role is and why it's so important to a team that's become the game's most offensively efficient basketball team. And for Tim Hardaway going forward, look, he's going to be relied upon for this offense, not only to remain the most offensive efficient team in the NBA, but on the defensive end, be its best perimeter defender. You say, Kevin, well, Dorian Finney-Smith Dodo has done really well defending the perimeter. Yeah, he has. But Tim Hardaway is going to be the guy that sets the tone on both ends of the floor. And Rick Carlisle has talked about Tim Hardaway in that way all season long. The heartbeat and the soul, the intensity that Tim Hardaway brings on both ends of the floor. For a guy who is going into a contract year, Tim Hardaway has a player option of nearly $19 million that he will have to decide whether or not he will opt into before the beginning of the 2020-2021 NBA season, which I imagine, just guessing, I think he would, because he's got a good thing going here in Dallas. This is a guy who's got a lot to prove still. And with these 8 games coming up and the scrimmages that the Dallas Mavericks are going to be playing against the Lakers and the Pacers and the 76ers, we're going to find out just how good Tim Hardaway is and what he looks like coming back. But more so when we get into these 8 games, can he be the guy that he was during the regular season? A guy who not only shot the ball well from the three-point line, but defensively set the tone for the Mavericks and the intensity and the fire and the passion that Tim Hardaway, THJ, plays with. And will that continue to translate for his teammates? The Mavericks have been the happiest basketball team on earth down in Orlando with their spike ball and Boban playing Pac-Man sitting in front of game consoles. The Mavericks have embraced this entire situation, and you give Coach Rick Carlisle a lot of credit for that. A guy who's looked at this challenge as an adventure and said, we're going to take this on. And his team has done the same and embraced this whole adventure mantra. And they've banded together to become a team that collectively plays for one another, connected to one another. And no one personifies that more than Tim Hardaway Jr. So the Tim Hardaway experience is going to be an important one, not only as a shooter, but as a defender, as a leader, as the heartbeat, as the soul, the intensity that which Tim Hardaway plays with. Look, Luka is going to get his. Kristaps Porzingis is going to get his. To a degree, Seth Curry is going to get his. But the way that the Mavericks continue to perform going forward is going to depend a lot on the consistency of Tim Hardaway Jr. and how quickly he could come out of the gate to remain a consistent focal point of this basketball team. Because if he is, the Mavericks have a chance to make some noise. Yes, we know what the superstar of this team, who the superstar of this team is. It's Luka Doncic. He's going to be a perennial MVP candidate for years to come. And the Robin, we think, Kristaps Porzingis Unicorn 2.0, who's been spectacular this year, will continue to ride the same wave of momentum that he has, especially during the second half of the season. But the consistent rock of this team is Tim Hardaway Jr. And I'm excited to see him on the floor in these scrimmages, in these 8 games, and into the playoffs, because he's going to help, along with guys with Seth Curry and others who have playoff experience, help Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis really understand what playoff intensity looks like in the NBA. It's different than any other situation that these players will have dealt with in their careers, especially for Luka Doncic. So look, Tim Hardaway, top 23-point shooter in shooting percentage, made nearly 200 threes already this season, having the best career shooting the ball from the three-point line. And it looks like he's only getting better. I'm excited to see Tim Hardaway Jr. in the Tim Hardaway experience go to Orlando and see what he does for this Dallas Mavericks team. A team that's 40-27, a chance to lock up a playoff spot rather quickly within the first couple of games of being down there in Orlando. And once they do, they can set their sights on the playoffs. And one person that we know, that I know, is going to be ready for these playoffs is Tim Hardaway Jr. The Tim Hardaway experience is going to be a fun one to watch. And if it's any indication of what we've seen from him earlier this year, it's going to be a fun one for Mavs fans too. Can't wait to see the Tim Hardaway experience down there in Orlando. It's been another episode of The Gray Area with your man, Kevin Gray. Hit the subscribe button, like this video, comment on this video, and don't forget to follow me on all social media platforms at Kevin Gray Sports on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Until then, I'll talk to you later. Peace.